Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Sara Lihz and today we are going to color an adorable bunny card using the Easter Bunny stamp set from Pixidustdesigns. I have chosen 4 images for my card and I am stamping those out in some alcohol-friendly ink onto some alcohol marker-friendly cardstock. This is the Spectrum Noir cardstock. I'm pretty new at coloring. And I have found that the paper actually makes a pretty big difference for me. You would not need to use alcohol markers or even to do any kind of blending. You could do these in a single color. There aren't any places where there's a huge opening that you need to color in. And so I'm going to walk you through what I'm doing, but there are so many adorable stamps in this set. You've got lots and lots of options. So I went over one of the eggs and the bee with my lightest shade of yellow. That is a Stampin' Up! Marker. I have a hodgepodge of markers. Use whatever you have. And then I just went around the edge of the bee's face on either side and the bottom of that yellow egg. And I colored in a little bit darker, and then I'll bring my lighter shade back in to blend that out. I'm doing the same thing with these green eggs, right? For me, the shadow would be closer towards the bottom, towards the middle of the wheelbarrow. I'm not really worried about where a light source is coming from. I'm just looking for something that gives me a little bit of depth and dimension. For these teal eggs, this teal is my favorite color combination. So these are the Ohuhu alcohol markers. I have the BG4 and the BG68. If I ever forget to put my caps up, and I'm notorious, I forget to put my caps up, I will have it listed in the top left corner. Here there are two, there's an R24 and an R25, but they're just a little too similar for me. So I scribbled a little bit of my P4 onto my silicone mat, and I'm picking that up with the R25 to find kind of a slightly darker tone, but not too much of a darker tone, to color in my purple eggs. For my wheelbarrows, I'm coming in with some browns and I'm getting brave. Normally I go lightest to darkest and back to light. Here I'm starting with my darkest marker. Sometimes it's a little harder to blend out the harsh edges if I start with my darkest marker, but because this is wood and I felt like some of those rougher edges would look pretty natural on this wood, I wasn't super worried about it. So I colored the top and bottom of that piece that goes along the side with the darker marker, and then right where the slats of wood are meeting on the side. And then I'm just going over all of that with my lighter marker. I'm using that same lighter tone, or both the brown tones, for the basket. And I'll do the whole thing in my lightest marker, and then I'll go back over the rim of the basket and kind of where the nubbins of the basket are, just right below them where the shadow might be, with my darker marker, and then I'll go back over the whole thing with my light tone again. On this wheelbarrow, I am coloring in the hardware with some light grays. These are cool grays. And then I will add pink to that very last egg. I can't believe I forgot that egg. But I also wanted to color in the bunny's bow. So I will use these same pinks for the bow. This one's an Olo marker. I've been trying them out, and honestly, as a new colorist, I feel like the Olos are a little harder to control. The ink comes out a little faster. And so sometimes I will find that it bleeds into parts of the image where I don't want it. I feel like I have more control with these Ohuhu markers, or even a Copic marker I've used a little bit. So then I'm coming in and I'm using 3 shades of gray on the wheel. I'm trying to keep the lightest part of the wheel at that top right where I felt like the most light would be. And then I'm just blending around the wheel with my darker shades. And then I'll use the 2 darker grays, same grays, for my bee. I didn't want to color those stripes in just black. That felt a little too harsh. And I'll come in with a very pale blue just to add a little depth to the bee's wings. I'm coloring my bunny, sort of. This is the very, very lightest gray that I have. It's my 00, and I am just coloring like right around the neck, where the arm meets the body, where the body meets the foot, where the whole bunny meets the ground, the places where I felt like there would be a little bit of shadow, just to add a bit of depth to that bunny. I am then going to create a ground for my bunny to stand on, and I am using the GY7. It's my lighter of my two greens that I'm going to use. And I'm trying to lay down quite a bit of ink. I find that I can get rid of some of those brush strokes by laying down more ink, and then I will come in with my darker green and I will create just a little bit of a shadow underneath the wheelbarrow and underneath the bunny. And then I'm going to use that same darker green to create little tufts of grass here and there. I'm just using an upward flicking motion and trying to vary that. So there's 3 blades of grass in some and 2 in another, and I'm just filling it in so it doesn't look like my bunny is walking on a golf course that doesn't have any tufts of grass. Finally, I'm coming back in with my lightest shade of green and I am blending out that shadow just a little bit. I don't know that that's entirely necessary, but I liked how it turned out. I'm going to add the whole thing onto an A2 card base. So I am starting with some pattern paper that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This is going to be a landscape top folding card. And then the panel that I stamped on is actually 4 1/2 by 3 1/4 to leave me a 1/2 inch margin all the way around. And I like giving it that little bit of space. I felt like this sizing fit the stamp set pretty well. I've added that to my card using a little bit of thin foam tape, and then I will finish this off with some clear stickles just to add a little bit of glitter, a little shine to our card, and that will finish up our card. If you like this card, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. There are lots of great videos coming out in the next month, and I can't wait for you to see them.